Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. I hope you're well wherever you are in the world. If you're new around here, my name is Kevin and I've been a professional photographer for over 15 years. And for 10 of those years, I was an official Fujifilm ambassador. And today, my friends, we need to talk about the Fujifilm X Pro 4. Or more specifically, where is the X Pro 4? Now, this video is kindly sponsored by Squarespace, the all-in-one platform I use for all of my websites, and I'll discuss them a little bit later. As usual, all the images in this video are edited with my Film Edition 3 presets, and you can also find a link and a discount to those below. As I chat today, I'll show you some of my favorite pictures I've shot over the years with the X Pro cameras, from the X Pro 1, 2, and of course the 3. So let's dig in. Now, the X Pro range by Fujifilm kicked off with the release of the X Pro 1 in around 2012, I think. And it was a landmark camera for Fujifilm because it marked the debut of the X series line of mirrorless cameras with an interchangeable lens, which aimed to combine classic design with modern digital technology. The X Pro 1 was particularly noted for its hybrid viewfinder, which allowed photographers to switch between an optical viewfinder and an electronic one. This feature was a big hit because it catered for those who loved the traditional rangefinder experience, but also appreciated the benefits of modern digital features. I, like many others, much prefer the X Pro styling over the XT and the XH range. It's been a long time since the X Pro 3 was announced, and in that time we've had multiple XT cameras, multiple XH cameras, and various other models and GFXs too. Where is the X Pro 4? That's what we all want to know, and I'm desperate to see that this magnificent line doesn't die out. When I moved from DSLRs, I cut my teeth in the mirrorless world on the original X100 and the X Pro 1. In fact, at the time, I was writing a monthly column for Professional Photographer magazine and was one of the very first people in the world to get a preview sample of the X Pro 1 for a review. And I think it's fair to say that I never really looked back. Now, as mentioned earlier, I was an official Fujifilm ambassador for over 10 years. I no longer am, but I have nothing but respect and admiration for the whole team at Fujifilm UK and Tokyo. They are my friends, and my relationship with them is still very, very strong. However, this doesn't stop me from wanting to shout from the rooftops, please, please do not forget the X Pro 4. It's such an important line for so many people. And what was it about the X Pro 1 then that was so great? Was it the hybrid viewfinder? Was it that rangefinder look? Perhaps it was the amazing little 16 megapixel sensor that created these wicked JPEGs and lovely RAW files to edit from. For me, ultimately, it was about the fact that I just loved using it. It wasn't the fastest to focus and it was a little bit clunky, but I picked it up every time I could and I loved it. Then in 2016, the story continued and Fujifilm introduced the X Pro 2. This model was a significant upgrade, I guess, over the X Pro 1. It featured a more advanced sensor, 24 megapixel one, and it was a leap up from the 16 megapixel sensor we'd seen in the X Pro 1. The X Pro 2 also boasted improved autofocus, performance, more robust body. It was more versatile for shooting in various conditions, I guess. More on the X Pro 2 in a moment, but first, as mentioned, this video is kindly sponsored by Squarespace, and about 5 years ago I transferred all of my websites to Squarespace and have never looked back. Those of you who listen to my FujiCast podcast will often hear me talk about the benefits of this system. My entire business, including the blog, e-commerce and marketing elements, is run on my Squarespace website. With the new guided design system, Squarespace Blueprint, you can create a completely personalized website, which I think is incredible. You can choose from professionally curated layouts and styling options to build a unique online presence from the ground up, tailored to your brand or business and optimized for every device. Easily launch your website and get discovered fast with optimized SEO so you show up more often in search. Head to squarespace.com for a free trial, and when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/Kevin Mullins to save 10% off your first website or domain purchase. Now, I think it was the X Pro 2 that really made people sit up and think, wedding photographers and street photographers, travel fans alike, they bought it in droves. It sold incredibly well, and it was really, in my mind, the most important camera Fujifilm have made to date. It brought so many people to the brand, and those that have stayed know how loyal Fujifilm are to their customers and how they put the art of photography at the forefront of everything they do. So why are we hearing no rumours of an X Pro 4? Over on the Fuji Rumors website, Patrick recently shared an idea of a digital X-Pan XT style camera coming in 2028. Now that does sound wonderful, but where is the X Pro 4? This is far more important, I think, for working photographers who love the rangefinder style breed of cameras. Most recently, Fujifilm launched the X Pro 3, of course, and this model took a somewhat radical design approach, particularly with this hidden LCD idea. The X Pro 3 did improve on image processing, responsiveness, introduced new film simulations and better filming capabilities, of course. And throughout its evolution, the X Pro series has stayed true to its core appeal, merging the tactile and visually satisfying spectrum, if you like, of film cameras with the perks of digital technology. It's a range that really resonated with those who appreciate the craft of photography and the joy of creating images that feel both timeless and contemporary. Currently, I shoot my commercial work with two X-T5 cameras. I don't want to. I much prefer the X Pro range, but the fact of the matter is the technology, autofocus, the systems are much better in the X-T5 than the X Pro 3. I guess I have to ask myself why that is. Why do I prefer the X Pro over the XT? Firstly, there's something about the rangefinder style of the X Pro cameras that really stands out for me. I love how the viewfinder is off to the corner, allowing me to keep an eye on everything that's going on. The setup is just brilliant for street photography and wedding photography, where staying alert to your surroundings is key. Then, of course, there is that hybrid viewfinder, which is a standout feature of the X Pro series and the X100. It's like having the best of both worlds. I can switch between the electronic viewfinder, which shows me exactly what my photo will look like, and an optical viewfinder, which gives me crystal clear, lag-free view of real world. And speaking of a tactile approach that this gives me, that's another reason I'm drawn to the X Pro range. The cameras in this series really make you feel engaged, I think at least, with the process of making photos. They're designed with minimalistic screens and physical dials that demand more control and deliberation, which I find incredibly satisfying. It's cathartic. It makes the whole experience of taking a photo feel more hands-on and personal. So for me, my love of the X Pro range is more about than just taking pictures. It's about how the camera feels in my hands, how it makes me interact with the world through my lens. It's about the joy of photography, I guess. And I say that a lot on this channel. So please, Fujifilm, please do not forget the X Pro range. I don't know if any of the team at Fujifilm watch my videos, but I do know many of them personally. I've shared drinks and dinners with them. I've hunkered down in meetings to discuss cameras and technology with them in Japan. I've even shot some of their weddings. So I hope, along with so many others, that we do see an X Pro 4 in the future. And I can honestly say that I have no idea, no rumours, no inside knowledge whatsoever about this. So this is essentially a cry in the dark to Fujifilm to please, please, please do not discard it. Now, I guess, what would I love to see in an X Pro 4 if there was one? Well, firstly, I'd love the styling to stay the same, they're very similar to the X Pro range that we already have. I'd like the 26 megapixel sensor and fast autofocus. I'm not that fussed on 40 megapixel sensor in this camera. I'd love the software to be geared towards photographers first. For example, an iteration of the HSL type sliders we see in editing software like Lightroom, for example. Imagine that. There's a huge community of JPEG enthusiasts and recipe creators, and this would open up a whole nother world and bring many more people to the camera. I'd love to see the hybrid viewfinder enhanced massively, brighter, bigger, more informational, just a more beautiful place to be. And you know, as I say this, I struggle to think of too many other features that I'd like, and perhaps that's the crux of the problem. Perhaps Fujifilm are sat in their offices in Tokyo and wondering, what can we do with this camera to make it better? Perhaps that is a bit of a problem for them, who knows? But I really want one. You possibly want one. Let's hope we get an X Pro 4 in the future. And Fujifilm remain true to their mantra of photography first. Thanks to Squarespace for sponsoring this video. Do like, subscribe, leave your comments below, and share if you so wish, and I will see you next time.